Despite Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's promises to reform Canada's justice system, Indigenous people continue to be overrepresented in prisons at alarming rates. Marvin Starblanket, a member of the Mistawasis First Nation, is living proof of this crisis, serving a strict supervision order years after completing his sentence. Indigenous Canadians make up just 5% of the population but account for over 30% of federal inmates.
Well, at the time I was involved in a high-risk lifestyle of doing drugs, drinking, hanging around people that weren't healthy for me, and I made some choices that were stupid. I did that armed robbery and ended up getting me an indefinite DO sentence, but by doing that third armed robbery, I basically demonstrated to the system that this guy, he's been to prison twice, he's done programming twice, we don't know what to do with him. Honestly, I'd say my own circumstances for the life that I live and the people that I chose to hang with, other marginalized people, I think it can go so far as to say the people that I was with were unhealthy, but those are instances I put myself in. I honestly don't think me being Indigenous made a difference other than the fact that my life seems more messed up than an average person because I'm Native. And the aura of being Indigenous, intergenerational survivor, living that tough life, growing up a tough life, at some point they start to feel like that's not an excuse, you're just a messed up person if you continue to keep being at odds with the law.
Mass incarceration describes the problem. An Indigenous person in Canada is 9 times more likely than a non-Indigenous person to find themselves in jail. I think mass incarceration better describes the problem. It's also the term that's used to describe the prison population in the United States, and the rates of Indigenous involvement in the criminal justice system and the prison system in Canada are similar to the rates in the United States. So if we're prepared to use mass incarceration to describe what's going on in the States, to be fair, we should use the same term
Lawyers and
here.
advocates argue systemic racism and deeply rooted injustices are keeping Indigenous people trapped in cycles of incarceration. So why is this happening, and what can be done to change
When
it?
we talk about institutional racism, it becomes so insidious that someone doesn't have to direct a slur towards someone like Mr. Starblanket. It's just the way the programs are geared. Given how prolific sexual violence was perpetrated on Indigenous individuals in residential schools, boarding homes, foster homes, it seems counterintuitive that we're not giving the best programming to the people who are most likely to reoffend.
I feel like my supervision is not a detriment to my life, but in some ways I'm not allowed to do things unless I get permission. And I'm not nitpicking, my life or nothing, but I'm 42 years old. I don't want to be asking for permission forever, and I won't be, as long as I follow my conditions, as long as I respect Corrections Canada, as long as I respect my case management. It would be a huge relief because being on parole and being in the halfway house, as much as this is a great support and it's helped me a lot, there's those little small things like watching the clock, not being able to lay in with my partner Natasha and my children and just crash out and relax. And then it'd be more freeing because I'd be able to truly know I had my civil liberties back.